Hello, my friends. How are you? How are you? This is going to be a completely unrehearsed live, truly coming from my heart. It was necessary. It was calling to do this today. My name is Diana Valenciano from DianaValenciano.com. For those of you who will be watching this video outside of my page, you can find out everything I do on my website. But today I wanted to share my heart. Emotions are high. Emotions have been very high. I'm trying to find this quote. Emotions have been very, very high lately. And it's confusing and it's hard and it's painful for so many. It's heart-wrenching for so many. But it was so necessary. You know, I said, I've been meaning to come live and say, what do I share? What do I share that truly shares what people need to hear? And you know what? I said, give me a sign. Give me a sign. And, hi, John. Give me a sign. And, I said, well, today, I don't know if you guys know Brené Brown. She's one of my the most amazing authors. Very, very inspirational. And she shared her quote today. I'm going to read it. She said, we can't call ourselves free or brave when we keep running from the truth. And for the most part, humans in general, 100%, we run, it's human nature, we run from our emotions. We run from what we truly feel inside our hearts when we are alone, when nobody's watching. Those innermost thoughts that we only know. That's what leads us when we are completely true. What is happening in the world right now, first with a health crisis, it truly made us think about our emotions. Things that perhaps we were too busy, we numbed ourselves from all of our lives. We didn't think about these emotions. We run away from these emotions. And all of a sudden, we were in our homes with our family, maybe alone, and we were faced to see what we thought, what we felt inside of our hearts. And it was harsh. Some people felt anxious, some people felt depressed, because all of a sudden, all these emotions were just coming out, and we didn't know what to do. We felt alone. We felt so many emotions that sometimes we couldn't even label, that we didn't even understand. And to this moment, there's a lot of people that are still feeling that way. The big wave, the big awakening. And then George Floyd's murder, the catalyst for us, for society, for this country, for the world, to look at things, at history that we've been hiding consciously and unconsciously for centuries. I consider myself someone that fights and talks for equality, and someone that I vehemently is against separation of any kind, whereas is religious, political, race, because I understand it. I understand it because as a Latina, I have felt discrimination, and I'm not Black. Facing emotions, facing judgment, facing our own truth, it is my passion. It is what I do every single day with my clients. It is the challenge that I give others, because that's a challenge that I've given myself in order to grow, in order to evolve as a human, not as a professional. That comes after. Not as a mom, because that comes after, or actually it came before. It just, what really broke into it. We become mothers, and all of a sudden our life changes, and we see the world differently. But it's the work that we do internally, the work that we do mentally, but most importantly, the work that we do spiritually. And it breaks my heart to see people that we still to this day discriminate. And that is the truth. You know, a couple of weeks ago, my former mentor and coach, confidence coach, Michelle Charles Gustafson from Canada, who happens to be an extraordinary Black woman, shared a beautiful post, a beautiful podcast. And she invites her audience, her listeners, to look at their biases. And in the middle of the podcast, and I'm going to try not to be emotional, in the middle of the podcast, I just started crying. Because I remembered the times people have been racist in front of me and I hadn't said anything. The times where comments were made to diminish, to belittle the Black community, and I didn't say anything. I just felt bothered, but I didn't say anything. I didn't challenge. And that bothered me. It hurt me. And it made me realize my biases. And that's the work that we need to do as humans, regardless of party affiliation, regardless of religion, regardless of race. Because as a Latina, I know there's a lot of racism in Latin America and here. I've heard it. I was born in the United States. I was not raised in the United States. I was blessed to be raised in Costa Rica. And you could say that I was sheltered in the community and the town that we lived. There were Blacks, but most of it, I would say 99% of our small, I don't know, maybe 2,000, 3,000 population, most of them were white, were fair skin. I didn't know what racism was. Not saying that it does not exist in Costa Rica, because that would be a fallacy. That would be a lie, because it It does. It exists. But when I came to the United States when I was 16, that's when I learned about discrimination. That's when I learned about racism. That's when I learned about the separation of people. I remember in the school in Union City, that's where I first got back, 16. And I remember amongst Latinos, Hispanics, I remember that I couldn't sit with monolinguals. Latinos, monolinguals, because they spoke only English. The bilinguals needed to sit somewhere else. And I was so shocked and so confused and so hurt that my own kind would push me aside as less than. That I walked 10 blocks home where we were staying to have lunch with my mom, and then 10 blocks back. And I am freaking fair skinned. Can you imagine what Black people have suffered to this day in our communities? My dad then bought a house 3 months later in a suburb, and I went into an all-white school. There were only 5 of us that were Hispanics, Latinos. And I remember that there were one that I can remember vividly, one Black kid that it seemed that he had been with the kids for his entire life. And then halfway through 11th grade, there was a Black girl. She was thin, tall, short hair. And I remember her walking on the hallways, scared. Ooh. And one day I passed through her locker where she was standing, and there was KKK written on her locker. I have learned about them through books and TV. A few days later, she wasn't in the school anymore. So I find posts. These are things that I lived. You know, there's a kid that just stopped talking to me because when he realized I was Latina and I spoke Spanish, I guess he confused my last name and thought that I spoke Italian. And when he realized I was speaking Spanish, I'm like, where did you learn it? Like, that's my native language. And he just turned around and didn't speak to me again. But these are the little things that I experienced. These are the things that I saw and I heard. I was 16. This is just, 25 years ago? 30 years ago? I don't know. 30 years ago. These are things that still happen today. These are things that we haven't faced. Our truth. We haven't faced that, and all of a sudden this collide that happened during the last 2 weeks, it just made us realize that big veil that we had in front of us, pretending that it doesn't exist, justifying it with ridiculous pictures or memes or posts, sometimes without even facts, just to justify something that is in front of us and has been in front of us for centuries. That's bias. I've been challenging people, mostly people that I know, because those uncomfortable conversations need to happen now. It needs to happen within our community. It needs to happen with our kids. We need to do better, because this isn't going away. This is here to stay, because there's a lot more people that are really fighting for this, fighting for equality. And it's not just the police, it's the entire infrastructure of a system that was broken from its inception. It was meant to be that way. It was meant to be broken so the less fortunate, it would give them a disadvantage. I've been blessed. I can't complain whatsoever. Not 1 ounce, because I've been blessed. But not because it hasn't happened to me. Not because it doesn't affect me. It doesn't mean that I'm going to turn around and not face the truth. Not face the truth of this beautiful nation that needs to be what it was meant to be. A free country for all, regardless of creed, ethnic background, color of skin. It needs to be free. And I'm sick and tired of seeing things to justify. Oh no, but this happened. Oh no, but what if assumptions? And assumptions are just ways to say maybe this will happen based on what had already happened. So we just need to remove the justifications, remove the assumptions, remove the what ifs, and really look at each of us individually, first and foremost, us. And see within ourselves, what is it that we're thinking? What is it that we're feeling? Ourselves as humans. And be completely honest and raw about what we truly feel and think and say and act. Be responsible for what we say. We're not going to post something really a provocation to... Oh, this is another thing that I've seen. Things that people share to support my belief systems. That's what human behavior does. Let me find proof that my belief systems, my way of thinking, my perspective is the right one. There is a story. And I don't know it fully. I will come back with the full story. One of my spiritual teachers, she shares about the story of the elephant. And pretty much what I understand, and again, I'm going to come back with that story because I feel that it's very important, very accurate to what we're seeing right now. You might be seeing what part of the elephant? Let's say the trunk. That's what you're seeing. But if you go around the elephant, then you're going to be able to see different parts of the elephant. But if you move away, then you're going to see the whole elephant. And that's what is happening right here. Same thing when you sit on a circle. Same thing when you sit on a circle. Your perspective, depending on where you're sitting, your perspective is your perspective, the direction of where you're sitting. But the person next to you, his or her view, it's completely different from yours. And so that is for everybody sitting on that circle. Same thing applies to what is happening right now. Our views, and I include mine, are not the only ones. And it is when we sit at a table and have those uncomfortable conversations that needs to be respectful. Because if we start attacking and insulting and offending other people, the communication breaks. It's honoring each other's space, each other's perspectives, and challenge them in a way that will lead us to a better conversation, a better dialogue, understanding each other based on compassion, based on love and empathy. Putting our defensiveness completely down, putting the sword down, putting the shield down, and really speaking from our heart, not from our point of view. Not from our point of view, because that's going to defeat the purpose. I'm not going to defend my view. I'm going to listen to you. I am not going to talk to you. I am going to talk with you. These are the different ways where we can meet halfway and really have a conversation that is meaningful and that would lead us to understanding, to the change that it's happening, because we're not going back. We refuse to go back to the old ways. They don't work anymore. It's not it's fair for some, but it's not fair for everybody. So I stand here before you and I am sharing that I am a change agent. I came to this earth to instill change, to challenge people for change, to challenge belief systems, to challenge perspectives, to break from conformity, and really allow ourselves to go deeper within ourselves, because that is the only way where we're going to break free from the chains that this society has kept us from really being completely free, mind and body and soul and heart. We're leading with our ego. And that isn't working. When we judge, we're only projecting who we are, what we truly feel, what we truly think. It has nothing to do with the other person. We know that. So, judging, looking at our judge yourself and look at it from a different perspective, it is the invitation to go cross the bridge and open the door to really find out who we are, our truest self, without being tempered and shattered and covered with all these perspectives, social conditioning that we have grown up all this time that does not really serve us. Is only if we don't change. And I'm not talking about only mindset. It's from here, truly here. Putting ourselves in the shoes of somebody else and trying to understand their pain, their anguish, their agony, what they're trying to tell us. If someone is screaming, I am hurt, being our empathic way and empathic person and really put ourselves in the shoes of others. I know it's difficult because if we haven't lived what they have lived, it's difficult for us to put ourselves in there, but actually listening, active listening without saying anything, allow us to understand. I've been looking at my biases. And it has not been pretty. It is an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to become better, an opportunity to become an ally for those that are continuously fighting for justice. And the more we are, the quicker the change. We have the opportunity to become the game changers, the change agents, the voice, and the action takers for a new world that it's awakening. It's just happening. And the more people resist it, the more pain it's going to cost on themselves, because we're going to keep going. Which, by the way, congratulations to the DACA dreamers who deserve to be here. And today they won big time. Congratulations to all of you, because I personally know 2 of them, and it makes my heart filled with joy to see that justice has been served. This is a time for women to stand up and speak up and be the change agents. This is the time to not be afraid. This is the time to embrace and lock arms with other people that are doing and fighting for the same goals, for the same justice. It's time. So I invite you to look within yourself. Without the shadows or without the clouded perspectives that separation, political, religious, any of that, all of society conditioning, without none of that, and actually look within yourself as a human being, as a soul, and find out how you have contributed to what is happening in the world, to what is happening in our country. I encourage you to educate yourself. There's a lot of resources. There's a lot of documentaries. There's a lot of movies that really shed light to what has been happening right in front of our eyes. And we have consciously and unconsciously chosen not to look that way because it is more convenient, and that is the truth. Let's stop justifying the unjustifiable. Let's stop trying to look for ways to pretend that it's not happening, because it is happening. Otherwise, this would not be happening. All this uprising would not be happening. It's time to be truthful. And I'm going to read again that quote from Brené Brown. I'm going to put it on up on top of the live. Ooh. We can't call ourselves free or brave when we keep running from the truth. We either own our stories or they own us. Only when we have the courage to own our history are we able to write a brave new ending to our story. This is true in our lives, our families, our communities, and our country. We need to face the truth. We need to face our history. Because, like I said before, this isn't going anywhere, and it is only moving forward. The more we resist, the more pain it will cause. So just surrender to love, to understanding, to compassion, and allow yourself to listen without being defensive. That's a very low energy level. That's the lowest energy level. Anger, being defensive, being in conflict, being in anger. Did I say that already? Those are the lowest energies, vibrations. And the more we project, the more we out project those energy, the same we're gonna get in return. So instead, let's project an energy of love, compassion, understanding, responsibility, taking. That's a big one. That's a huge one. Taking responsibility for ourselves. And that includes what we post, what we share, what we say. We take responsibility for ourselves. The moment we take responsibility for ourselves, it's a game changer. Because we're no longer in the blame game. We're taking full responsibility with love, with compassion, with empathy. That is the only way that we're going to move forward. Sending you all the love. If you feel like you don't know how to have these uncomfortable conversations, you don't know how to approach people, let's have a conversation. We're here to help one another. We're here to help those that are not maybe ready, maybe confused to cross that bridge. Of reconciliation with ourselves and the world. Let's just listen more. Have an amazing day. Have a blessed day. Let's love one another. Let's be kind to one another. Have a good night.